All right, everybody. This is the most embarrassing story you're ever going to hear me tell about something that happened to me. And I kid you not, this is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me in my life that I can remember. Horrible, horribly embarrassing. So I'm just going to go right into it. Okay, here we go. So it all started in middle school. I was at school, right? Minding my own business. I'm in band class. I took band in middle school. We had a choice between choir or band. We had to take one of those two, and I didn't want to sing for people, so I picked band, and I, played percussion in middle school, and I had a drum that we had to carry to and forth from school. It was a snare drum, and we had to take that home with us at the end of the day and bring it back to school, right? Because we had to practice at home. So I had this big old drum, right? And I had a big old book bag, backpack with all my books in it. And I've got this stuff, right? I'm holding both of these, right? And this is important because I was not that big of a kid, right? When I was in middle school, it was like 7th grade, I think 6th or 7th grade that this happened in, but I was not that big of a kid. I was pretty short, pretty small, probably one of the smallest kids in my grade, but I'm carrying this big old book bag and I'm carrying this huge snare drum, right? And I'm carrying all these things on my person, right? Just walking to the bus, right? To go home for the day. Now, it just so happened that on this particular day, it had rained a lot. Like a lot. I'm talking about buckets of rain. It had just so happened that it had just stopped raining just in time for everybody to head out to the buses. So I've got my really heavy book bag, my heavy instrument, and I'm heading to the buses. Leave the band room and I'm walking to the buses. Now, the buses, the way that the buses are laid out, they're all at the top of this hill, right? So you walk up the sidewalk, and it's like this L shape. You walk up the sidewalk, and then you go across to where the buses are. But sometimes I like to cut across the grass, through the grass, to get to the buses, right? And I'm telling myself, I'm like, hey, this is probably a good, there's a lot of kids, trying to get to the bus. And I say, this is a good day to take a shortcut so I don't have to spend the entire time carrying my heavy instrument and whatnot. So I tell myself, I'm going to go ahead and take a shortcut to the buses, right? Today, I'm going to cut through the grass. Biggest mistake I ever made. I start my trek, and I figured it out really quick that this was a bad idea, but I didn't stop my legs from continuing to take me in this direction. The ground that I was walking on was very little grass. It was pretty much 99% mud, okay? Because it had been raining so much and other people had been walking through it. So it's solid mud, and it's walking up a very steep, muddy hill, right? I'm talking like my feet are getting sucked down. I'm sinking into this hill as I go up. And so I'm like trekking up. I feel like I'm climbing Mount Everest. It's so much mud. I'm slowly just climbing up this muddy hill. And I get about halfway up when I realize the mistake I've made. When I'm like, you know what? This is not a good idea. I should start, maybe I should head back down. And as this thought crosses my mind, I slip a little bit. And my knee hits the mud, and I'm like, uh-oh. I freeze. I'm like, okay, not good. I need to climb down. I'm going back down. I'm going to go the long way around. So I get ready to go down, and I lose all control, and I just fall right into the mud. Just straight down. Instrument flies off of my back, lands, just splat. Mud just sinking in. I'm now scrambling to keep my instrument from sinking and getting muddy further as my side falls in the mud. I push my arm into it to try and push myself up, and it gets caught in the mud, and now I'm just mud all over me, and I'm freaking out. I'm and all along the sidewalk, every kid in middle school who's heading the buses is looking at me. Every single one of them. All eyes on me. Hundreds of kids just looking at me. And I'm just so embarrassed at this point. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay, I can still make a recovery. I'm going to pick my stuff up and I'm going to go down the hill, go inside, and just get out of the view of everybody. So I go to pick my instrument up, pull it out. As I'm trying to pull it out from the mud, right? As I go to pull it out, the suction of the mud causes me to lose my balance and I fall over again into the mud, this time on my other side. So now mud on my shirt, mud all over my pants, just mud is in my hair, right? Like literally I am covered with mud and all the kids are laughing, they're pointing, they're looking down. I'm just like, I just want to die at this point. But I'm just like, no. I can still recover from this. I can still save my image. I can still get out of this unscathed, right? I'm telling myself that. So I, try and pick up my instrument again. I managed to get it out, but as I swing my book bag around to catch my balance, my book bag falls over my shoulder and lands in the mud and flips me over, and I land on my back in the mud. Now I'm on my back and there's mud just all over me. I am now 100% covered in mud at this point, but I still want to save my image. I still believe it's possible. So I pick it up. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to climb down the hill. Down the hill's bad. I'm just going to keep going on. I'm going to keep going forward. I can make it. And I head on up the hill again. I'm like, I'm going to make it. And I keep trying to climb. I've got mud covering everything, but I'm like, I'm going to make it. And I slip as I'm trying to go up the hill. I'm still in the halfway point. I have not moved from this point, and my face goes into the mud. Just straight up face plant into the mud. And at this point, I have lost it. I am now crying, right? Tears are streaming down my face. I'm so embarrassed. All these kids are looking at me. Every kid that's on the bus has rolled the windows down and is looking at me and laughing. And I'm just like, I'm done. I just want to die at that point. I thought at that point, that was the lowest point of my life and that it couldn't get worse. But oh yes, it could get worse. It could get a lot worse. You would think that laying in the mud, covered in it, in front of all of your peers would be the worst thing that could happen. But no. What happened next was even more embarrassing. So I'm laying there in the mud, still struggling now. I get up. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try. I'm crying. Everybody's looking at me crying. I pull my instruments and my backpack up, and I'm like, oh, I'm just done. I just want to fall down the hill and bury myself at that point. I kid you not. 2 high school students, like seniors, who had come to pick up the high school or college, students, who had come to pick up their siblings, see me, see what's going on, and they come marching down this muddy hill. One of them scoops up my book bag, picks up my instrument, and the other scoops me up in his arms, and they carry me to the top of the hill. And so I'm being carried by these huge guys, by the way, and I'm a little big guy being carried by these huge guys, and I'm just dying. I'm now being carried basically like a baby up this hill, and I am dying. I am so embarrassed. And some people might say that bad, isn't that good? They helped you out. No, I wish they had just left me there. In hindsight, yes, I am grateful and I'm happy that they helped me out. That was very nice of them. But being carried up the hill like that was so embarrassing. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm being manhandled by these 2 giants and everybody's seeing it. And they set me down in the middle of all my peers, right? They set me down on the sidewalk. The principal or some teacher comes over to help me, and all of my classmates are just laughing, and I can just hear them as they're pointing and they're laughing, and I'm just dying, and I'm just thinking, what am I gonna do? I'm so embarrassed. And the teacher leads me inside, calls my mom, who ended up coming and picking me up, and I didn't even want to talk about it. They got a little that big rolls of paper they rolled off. They took a big piece of that, set on a chair for me to sit on so I wouldn't get the chair all muddy. But I was covered in mud. And then my mom came, she saw me, she was like, oh, are you okay? And my favorite teachers are walking through the hallway looking at me. And every day for the rest of the year, right? The rest of the school year, and even going on at some parts in high school, people pointed that out to me and reminded me. And it got to the point where I just kind of played it off. I was like, oh yeah, no, that didn't bother me at all. I did it on purpose because it embarrassed me so much. And that, my friends, is seriously the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. There may have been something more embarrassing that I suppressed and I just can't remember right now, and that I might remember at some point, but that is the thing that sticks into my mind as just being so embarrassing. At that moment, I wanted to die. So, but I lived. You know, the moral of the story is I lived, I survived, I lived through it, and you know, my life obviously wasn't in danger, but I think that is a lesson. So if you ever have something that's so embarrassing that you think there's no way I'm going to recover from this, or like people keep pointing it out, just play it off, right? Just be like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Don't let them know that it bothers you, because the moment they do, they'll keep at it. But once they see it doesn't bother you, they'll stop mentioning it. And that's pretty much what happened in my case as people figured it out. But yeah, let me know, guys. Give this story was very difficult to tell. Everybody at this point, give this video a thumbs up right now. But yeah, guys, let me know. Have you ever had anything this embarrassing happen to you, or even something more embarrassing? I mean, the car accident I got into where I took out power for thousands of people, that was pretty embarrassing too, but I would say this was more embarrassing for me. But yeah, let me know, guys. Has anything embarrassing like this happened to you? Please let me know in the comment section. Did you guys like this little 1st to 10 video I had in the background where I fought, you know, people on my server? We did a 1st to 10. I will do an announcement video in the future where you guys can come and participate in that, so we can do a 1st to, like, maybe a 1st to 100 or something. Let me know, guys, and please give the video a thumbs up. That would really help me, and I will see you guys next time.